Judge issues arrest warrant for Jennifer Lopez. After shocking Ben Affleck testimony in Diddy trial, the air in Manhattan felt different that morning. Not colder, not heavier, just charged like something was about to break. Inside the federal courthouse, cameras waited. Reporters swarmed. Everyone expected a storm, but no one expected him. Ben Affleck walked in alone. No bodyguards, no lawyer. Just a worn leather notebook clutched in one hand. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He walked like a man who had already seen the worst and decided to face it anyway. At the defendant's table sat Sean Diddy Combs, calm, composed, hands folded like nothing could touch him. Until Ben stepped onto the witness stand, everything changed. The judge cleared his throat. The room fell silent. State your name. Benjamin Jeza Affleck. Occupation actor, director, husband, ex-husband. He paused. The word ex-husband landed like a punch. To Jennifer Lopez, the prosecutor asked. Ben nodded. Yes. And just like that, the courtroom froze. The notebook he carried wasn't new. Its cover was scratched, the pages yellowed, but inside truth, pain, secrets. He opened it slowly. This notebook, Ben said, was found under the floorboards of our home in Los Angeles, hidden beneath a loose plank, locked in a metal safe. By whom, the prosecutor asked. By me, Ben replied. Afterwards, I followed Jennifer to a warehouse near the city limits. After I saw her talking to Diddy, after I realized something was deeply, deeply wrong, the pages inside listed names, events, gifts, codes. Everything pointed to a dark network, secret parties, political bribes, money laundering, abuse, and her name, Jennifer Lopez, appeared more than once. I thought she was innocent, Ben said. His voice cracked, but the deeper I dug, the more I realized. She wasn't. He turned a page. Hold it up. Here's an entry written in her handwriting. Make sure everyone stays quiet. Move the package through the fund. The room stirred, gasps, murmurs. What did she mean by package, the prosecutor asked. Ben didn't answer, because he didn't know, and maybe he didn't want to. The defense jumped up. Objection, this is personal bias. He's a scorned ex-husband. Ben looked at Diddy, then at Jennifer seated in the gallery. Her eyes refused to meet his. This isn't about revenge, Ben said. This is about the truth. The judge raised a hand. Let him continue. Ben flipped the page. This isn't all, he said. There's more. A tunnel, a room beneath our home, cameras, equipment, a hard drive. He held it up. The video on this drive shows a party, loud music, blurred faces. A young girl looked terrified. And Jennifer... He stopped, took a breath, standing next to Diddy. Gasps exploded through the gallery. Ben clenched his fists, not in anger, in pain. I loved her, he said, but now I don't even know who she is. Later, during recess, the media erupted. Ben Affleck testifies against Jennifer Lopez. Notebook reveals underground operation. Secret tunnel beneath Affleck-Lopez mansion. Every headline screamed the same message: something massive was unraveling. Back in the courtroom, Ben delivered more. A second item, a phone, hidden in Jennifer's desk drawer. One unsent message read, "Shine took the fall. We're safe now." The year 1999. The same year, a nightclub shooting nearly destroyed Diddy's career. The same year, Jennifer was arrested, then mysteriously released. Ben looked at the judge. She wasn't just there. She protected him. He opened another file, a marriage certificate, dated 1999. Jennifer Lopez, Sean Combs, married, not for love, but for legal protection, spousal privilege. She couldn't testify against him. The courtroom spun. Ben closed the notebook. This is not fiction, he said. This is not a movie. He looked at the jury. Jennifer knew. About the girls. About the money. About everything. And she said nothing. His voice dropped to a whisper. Until now. The courtroom stayed silent longer than it should have. No one moved. No one whispered. Even the judge looked like he needed a moment to breathe. Ben Affleck stepped down from the witness stand. He didn't look back. Jennifer sat frozen in the gallery. Her hands clutched a silk scarf in her lap. Her eyes, usually sharp and brilliant, were dull, distant. Diddy didn't flinch. He leaned back in his chair like a king still confident his kingdom would hold. But that confidence was about to crack. 2 hours later, the FBI executed a sealed warrant on Ben's Los Angeles estate. They searched everything: the bedroom, the wine cellar, the office, then the living room. Underneath a Persian rug and a perfectly aligned row of floorboards, they found what he had claimed a hatch. It led into darkness. Flashlights swept over damp stone, rusted rails, molded cables. The smell of rot clung to the walls. And at the end, just like Ben had said, there was a hidden room. Cameras, tripods, a chair bolted to the floor, and a heavy safe. Inside the notebook, the drive, and files. Dozens of them. Each folder stamped with a logo from a fake charity. Names of politicians, bank transfers, schedules. It wasn't a conspiracy theory. It was a criminal empire. News broke globally. Affleck's tunnel of secrets found by FBI. Jennifer Lopez implicated in covert crime network. Diddy's empire, built on silence and star power. Within hours, federal agents traced one of the shell charities listed in the safe to a company registered in Belize. That company in turn funneled money through an LA-based film nonprofit. One of its board members, Jennifer Lopez. Ben was placed under FBI protection, but he refused to disappear. He gave them everything. The evidence speaks for itself, he told investigators. But there was one thing he hadn't handed over yet: a second hard drive. One he kept hidden not out of fear, but out of torment. It contained a 47-second video, no editing, no background music, no fancy angles, just one static shot. Jennifer, standing next to Diddy, in a basement lit with red and purple strobes, holding a phone. Her face was unreadable, her mouth was moving. Next to them, a teenage girl sat on the floor, crying, not screaming, just broken. Ben couldn't bring himself to press play again. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, took the stand the next day. She didn't look like a victim. She looked like someone finally allowed to breathe. "I was 17 when I met him," she said. "By 20, I had no identity, no control, nothing." Her voice trembled, but she never looked away. "He forced me to attend parties," she continued, "to drink, to perform, while he watched, while others watched." "Was Jennifer Lopez present at any of these parties?" the prosecutor asked. Cassie didn't blink. "Yes. How often?" "Often enough to know everything. Often enough to pretend she didn't." That afternoon, Jennifer Lopez was subpoenaed to appear in court. She didn't show up. Her lawyers claimed she was unavailable due to personal and international travel. By morning, she was gone. Jet fuel logs revealed a private jet had left Van Nuys Airport at 3:13 a.m., destination undisclosed. The government froze 6 of her accounts. Total balance over $140 million. Her Beverly Hills estate stood empty. No staff, no guards, no sign of life. The media swarmed. Helicopters buzzed overhead. Drones hovered near the gate, but inside dust. Silence. One broken wine glass on the marble counter. It was like she had vanished off the face of the earth. Some whispered she went to Dubai. Others said South America. A few murmured that she had diplomatic protection through Diddy's old political ties. No one knew for sure, but what they did know was this: she was running. Ben returned to court one last time that week, not to testify, but to witness. Diddy's legal team had requested a motion to suppress the notebook and hard drive, claiming the search was tainted by emotional vendetta. The judge listened, and then quietly ruled against them. "The evidence," he said, "is too detailed, too corroborated, too damning." He paused. I looked at Ben. "Mr. Affleck," he said, Do you still have that marriage certificate? Ben nodded. Yes. Submit it to the record. A clerk took it from him. The courtroom watched the page slide into the official file. One paper. But it shook the walls like thunder. Later that evening outside the courthouse, Ben faced the press for the first time. He didn't wear sunglasses, no cap, no Hollywood pretense, just a gray coat, wrinkled, tired, real. I didn't want to do this, he said. I never imagined standing here. He looked up at the sky. But silence is no longer an option, and love doesn't mean immunity, not when people are getting hurt. He stepped down, ignored the questions, got into a black SUV and disappeared into traffic. Inside the courtroom, the prosecutor filed a motion to reopen the investigation into the 1999 nightclub shooting, specifically to revisit Jennifer Lopez's role, how she was arrested, how she was released, and how the gun used in the shooting was never properly traced. According to the evidence found in Ben's safe, 2 weapons registered under Ben's name had been buried in the same tunnel. Planted, deliberate. In the next week, subpoenas were issued for 3 former NYPD detectives, 1 lawyer connected to Diddy, and a tech expert who helped erase metadata from videos linked to Jennifer's team. The net was tightening, but Jennifer still missing. And for the first time in decades, the public didn't know whether to call her a victim or a villain. They only knew one thing: Ben had opened a door that could never be closed again. 3 days after Jennifer Lopez vanished, Ben Affleck received a package. No sender, no return address, just a black envelope with a wax seal. Inside one item, a photo of his parents' Boston home taken at night from a high angle. Surveillance style, cold, precise. On the back, one sentence was scribbled, "You talk, they bleed." Ben stared at the message. His hands didn't shake. Not this time. He was past fear. Instead, he called the FBI, quietly, calmly. They arrived within 12 minutes. Inside their vehicle, one of the agents showed him security footage. "We intercepted chatter about a break-in last night. We think they tried to send a message." Ben nodded. They did. The next morning, reporters asked why he looked so pale. He didn't answer. But later that night, he sat down at his laptop and began to write. Not a statement, not a script, a list. He listed every suspicious thing he had noticed over the past 2 years. Every whisper behind a closed door. Every cryptic text Jennifer had received. Every time Diddy's name had come up only to be dismissed with a smile. And then he remembered something else, a voice memo. Jennifer had recorded it while drunk, mumbling to herself. She didn't know Ben was listening. He had almost deleted it, but something stopped him. Now he played it again. Her voice slurred, tired. "The tunnel's not the only secret. The others. They know where the girls are kept. If the feds ever find the safe house, it's over." The next day, Ben gave the audio to the FBI. They took it seriously. Within 48 hours, a raid was launched at a location near the California-Mexico border. A private ranch, isolated, fenced. What they found inside confirmed everything. Photos, medical files, fake passports, rooms designed like clinics but with security cameras hidden in corners. 3 women were rescued. 2 were nonverbal. 1 was 17. None had any documentation. All were afraid to speak, but one whispered something to the agents as she was taken to safety. She wore diamonds, but her eyes were empty. Diddy's legal team went into overdrive. They called the story fake, a smear campaign, Hollywood melodrama. They claimed the evidence was doctored, that the girls had been coached, that Ben was mentally unstable and obsessed, but it didn't matter. Because 2 hours later, another woman came forward. Her name was Eliza Rowe, a former backup dancer for Jennifer Lopez. She appeared on a live stream, no network, no lawyers, just her and a camera. "I've been quiet for too long," she said. "I was there, I saw it, the parties, the gifts. The people flew in and out, and yes, I saw Jennifer, many times. She wasn't innocent, she wasn't unaware. She was in charge. Within hours, Realiza Rowe trended worldwide. More women began speaking out, some anonymously, others with names and faces. The details overlapped, the locations matched, the names repeated, and always, Jennifer's name was there, as a guest, as a planner, as a protector. The media turned fast. 1 week ago, she was America's Latina queen. Now, she was the runaway queenpin. Interpol issued a red notice, not for arrest yet, but for urgent questioning regarding international human trafficking operations. Her known properties across Europe and South America were flagged. Banks were ordered to report any large withdrawals or money transfers tied to her aliases. Still no sightings. She had disappeared like a ghost. No Instagram posts, no press statements, no leaks. But Ben knew better. She's not hiding, he told an agent. She's planning. Meanwhile, Diddy sat silent in the courtroom. His lawyers begged him to speak. He refused. Until one afternoon, he leaned toward the microphone and said just one thing. She was always smarter than me. Then he smiled. Not a warm smile, not a broken one, but the kind of smile that chills you to the bone. It was no longer just a trial. It had become a reckoning. Politicians began asking questions. Journalists dug deeper. Public pressure mounted like a storm, and all of it circled two names: Sean Combs, Jennifer Lopez, one locked in a courtroom, the other still missing. Across the country, protests started, not angry, not loud, silent vigils, people standing with candles and signs, photos of missing girls, names written in ink, tears falling without sound. One sign stood out: she sang for the world, but she was silent when it mattered. At the same time, online forums exploded with theories. Some said Jennifer had plastic surgery and left the country under a new identity. Others believed she was being protected by powerful men, politicians, bankers, former intelligence agents. A few thought she'd never speak again because she didn't have to. She already said everything one Reddit user wrote, in that notebook, in that tunnel, with her silence. Then came the flight footage. A whistleblower from a European airport leaked it. CCTV footage, grainy but clear. A woman in a hooded coat, sunglasses, no luggage, Jennifer Lopez, walking through a private terminal in Geneva, Switzerland. 2 hours later, the plane was gone again. No record of its next stop. The U.S. Embassy in Switzerland sent a formal inquiry. Switzerland responded, "We have no knowledge of her presence. She has not applied for asylum, but something didn't sit right." A private security firm in Zurich posted a job ad the same day seeking multilingual female agents. Discretion required. Contract indefinite. Coincidence maybe. But the FBI wasn't waiting. They expanded their net. Cyber teams scanned financial networks. Facial recognition flagged every major airport. Alerts were sent to embassies. Jennifer Lopez wasn't just a fugitive. She was now a global name on the radar of every agency in the world. Back in court, Ben returned once more. This time not to speak, to watch. Cassie was testifying again, and this time she brought photos. Old ones, blurry, time-stamped, cropped, but still powerful. Cassie, Jennifer, Diddy, at a party, at a charity gala, in a warehouse. The background changed, the clothes changed, but the expressions stayed the same. Jennifer always looked calm, in control, watching, and the girls always nervous, out of place, sometimes afraid. Cassie looked the judge straight in the eyes. She knew she said, "I tried to warn her, once." "What did she say?" the prosecutor asked. Cassie swallowed. She said, "We all have roles to play, don't forget yours." Ben sat frozen. That voice, that tone. He had heard it before many times, in the kitchen, on the red carpet, in bed. It wasn't just a line. It was who she was, not a puppet, a player. Later that night, Ben drove to a quiet hill overlooking LA. He looked down at the city, the lights, the noise. He remembered what Jennifer once told him there. If you stay quiet long enough, she had whispered, people will make their own truth. You don't even have to lie. He had laughed at the time. Now it terrified him, because it was working. Some people were starting to doubt the story. Others were turning on Ben, calling him bitter, calling him unstable. She's not here to defend herself, they said, as if her silence proved innocence. Ben knew better. Silence in her world was strategy. That same week, 3 new names appeared in the investigation. 2 were Hollywood producers. 1 was a high-level executive from a luxury fashion brand. All were linked to the same shell companies listed in the notebook. All had attended the same private parties. One had wired $2.3 million to a youth development charity run by a Lopez-affiliated foundation. The foundation now officially listed as under federal review. Ben watched the press conference from his apartment. When the FBI director said, "This is not about one man or one woman. This is about a system," Ben exhaled. Finally, someone else had said it out loud. Then came the voicemail, anonymous, digitally scrambled, but unmistakable. A woman's voice, low, fast, panicked. "Tell him not to come forward. He's next. They don't care who he is. They've buried bigger than him." The FBI traced it to a burner phone in Caracas. The voice couldn't be confirmed, but Ben was sure. It was her, Jennifer. She wasn't threatening him. She was warning him. But the message was clear. There are more secrets left, and she wasn't the only one holding them. The morning after the voicemail, Ben didn't sleep. His thoughts weren't his own anymore. They were a mess of images, faces from the past, blurry and sharp, and Jennifer's cold stare as she walked out of his life. He knew that warning wasn't meant for him. It was meant for the world. Don't come forward. You're next. Days passed, and the investigation into Jennifer Lopez and Diddy's operations escalated. More whistleblowers came forward. One was a former chauffeur, another a personal assistant. Both had worked closely with Jennifer and Diddy, and both confirmed details Ben had only hinted at. One by one, they revealed secrets. How Jennifer had been involved in meetings with foreign diplomats. How Diddy had orchestrated backdoor deals with politicians. How the whole empire was built on the silent manipulation of public figures. And still, Jennifer was nowhere to be found. Back at the courthouse, the trial was nearing its peak. Diddy's lawyers were throwing everything they could at Ben, attempting to discredit him, to label him a liar. But the evidence was undeniable. The videos, the photos, the documents, all pointed to one chilling truth: the operation was bigger than anyone had imagined. It wasn't just about human trafficking, it was about control, about money, and about a twisted network of power that spanned continents. Ben couldn't shake the image of Jennifer's face, her cold eyes staring back at him from the video standing next to Diddy in that dark, flashing room. He had seen it 1,000 times, but it never got easier. Then came the phone call. Ben was sitting in his office when the number flashed on his screen. It was an unlisted number masked with a private code. He answered immediately. "Ben." The voice on the other end was familiar, but it was colder than he remembered. "I know you've been looking for me. I know you think you have it all figured out, but you're wrong." It was Jennifer. He hadn't heard from her in weeks. Not a word, nothing. "I don't know what you think you've uncovered," she continued, "but I'll tell you this. You don't know everything, and you never will." Ben's heart raced. He was prepared for anger, for accusations, but not this. Not a voice that sounded both desperate and calculated. "You still think you're a hero, Ben. You're not. You've just opened a door you can't close. You've made enemies." "Where are you?" Ben asked. "What do you want?" "You don't understand, Ben," she replied, her voice shaking. "I was never in control. You think this was about me? About Diddy? No. This is about something bigger, something you're not ready to face." Ben stood up, pacing around the room. "What are you talking about?" There was a pause. Then she whispered, "You're going to regret this. The world doesn't want the truth. It only wants the story, and you've given them both." Before Ben could respond, the line went dead. The phone call wasn't just a warning, it was the final push. The next day, everything changed. The FBI had been tracking financial transfers linked to Diddy's charity foundations. The money wasn't just for bribes or private parties. It was being funneled into political campaigns, private bank accounts and shell companies linked to people in positions of power. Ben's team, along with the FBI, had uncovered a hidden ledger. It was buried deep within one of the foundation's encrypted servers, and it listed names. Some were familiar, others unknown. But the one name that stood out, a senior U.S. senator. The discovery rocked the case. The connections ran deeper than anyone had imagined, and the implications were terrifying. Jennifer Lopez had been playing a part in something far more dangerous than anyone had realized. Diddy's lawyers tried to fight back, claiming that the discovery was circumstantial, that Ben was grasping at straws. But the pressure from the media and the growing public outrage was undeniable. The FBI moved quickly. They issued a federal subpoena to the senator linked to the transactions. His response, a quiet resignation. No defense, no statements, just silence. It was a move that sent shockwaves through Washington. It meant that someone in the highest levels of government had been implicated. The system was cracking. The truth was no longer something that could be hidden. That evening, Ben sat in front of the television watching the news coverage. His mind was still spinning from the phone call. Jennifer's words echoed in his head. "You're going to regret this. The world doesn't want the truth." He wasn't sure if he'd made a mistake, but he knew one thing for sure: he couldn't go back. Not now. Jennifer Lopez's silence had always been a shield protecting her from the world's judgment. But that shield had shattered. The following day, the media was ablaze with the news that Diddy had been arrested. The charges were overwhelming: trafficking, corruption, money laundering, and conspiracy. Ben wasn't sure what had pushed the government to move so quickly. Was it the pressure from the public, or was it something darker, something he couldn't yet understand? The truth was starting to unravel. Piece by piece, the web Diddy and Jennifer had carefully constructed began to collapse. But Jennifer was still out there, still watching, still waiting. The world wasn't ready for what would come next. The walls were closing in on Diddy. The evidence was undeniable, and the charges against him were stacking up faster than anyone had anticipated. But Jennifer, she was still a ghost. The search was international now. Interpol had issued a full alert. Every major border crossing, every private jet terminal was on high alert. No one knew where she was. No one knew if she was still in the country. But every clue pointed to one fact: she had planned her disappearance carefully. She wasn't running away. She was positioning herself for something bigger. Ben knew that if he ever wanted to stop her, he would need to get ahead of her. He needed to understand the real story. In the dead of night, Ben received another call. This time it wasn't a warning. It wasn't Jennifer's voice. It was someone else. "Ben, it's over," the voice said, calm and detached. Ben's heart skipped. He recognized the tone. It was one of Diddy's associates, someone who had helped orchestrate the network's operations. "You think you've won, don't you?" the voice continued. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. Jennifer is just a pawn in a much larger game. This was never about her. It was about power. It always was." Ben's blood ran cold. "What game?" he asked, his voice steady but filled with suspicion. There was a long pause on the other end. "The game where they pull the strings, all of them. People you trust. People you thought you knew. The ones you haven't even met yet." The line clicked. The call ended abruptly. Ben sat there in silence, the weight of the words sinking in. A pawn, a larger game. He had seen enough to know that this was far from over. Jennifer Lopez might have been the face, the celebrity, the symbol, but the network she was part of went far deeper than Hollywood. And it wasn't just about trafficking. It was about influence, political power, control over people with secrets that could shift the balance of power on a global scale. Ben knew that he needed one final piece of the puzzle. Late the next afternoon, he received a message, a photo, Jennifer, standing in front of a mansion, the same mansion he had once visited with her. The location wasn't familiar, but the setting was. The message read, "You want to find me. Come to the truth. You're too close to see it, but I can show you." It was the last piece of the puzzle. He had to act now. He went to the address. What he found shocked him. Inside the mansion was a network of rooms, each meticulously organized. Files, computers, documents, all pointing back to the same core operation. But the most chilling discovery, a collection of tapes, personal recordings, conversations. Most were encrypted, but one wasn't. It was a recording of Jennifer, speaking with someone in a hushed, urgent tone. "If this all goes down, we have to be ready. Diddy can't be the one they point to. He's just a distraction." Ben's mind raced. She had known. She had always known this was bigger than Diddy. The recording ended with a final chilling remark. "I'm not running anymore. I'm stepping into something far larger than either of us." The FBI had been tracking Ben's every move, and when they arrived moments later, they knew the truth was too big to ignore. They had everything now, but Jennifer She was already 2 steps ahead. Days passed. The world awaited a breakthrough, but Jennifer Lopez remained in the shadows. Diddy's trial began, and while his empire crumbled around him, the questions about Jennifer continued to hang in the air like smoke. Where was she? Was she still the mastermind, or was she just another pawn? Ben didn't have the answers, but he knew this. The truth would come for them all, and when it did, the world would never be the same again.